Hey everybody, I'm Chef Tom with allthingsbbq.com, and this is Poor Man's Burn-Ins. Well, today we're bringing you another one that you guys have been asking for. There's a lot of requests out there. What could I replicate burnt ends with without doing a whole brisket? Now, the problem with getting burnt ends out of a brisket is a lot of time you gotta buy the whole thing in order to get the point. It's not super easy to source a point by itself, and that point meat is where you want to get the burnt ends out of. So, a lot of you are wondering how to save some money, and this is one way you can do it to get something similar to burnt ends. We've got a 4-pound chuck roast that we're gonna smoke just like a brisket on the Kamado Joe. So really simple on the seasoning process here. We're just gonna start with a little binder, which in this case is the Kozlik's Amazing Maple Mustard. Give us something sticky for that rub to attach to. A little moisture on the surface. As you can see, the chuck roast has some decent marbling. There's some fat running through there, and so that's why if you're gonna try and cheat and get some burnt ends out of something other than brisket, this isn't a bad option. Next, we're gonna hit it with a little bit of seasoning. We're using our butts, our smoking, our beef rub. This is just one of my favorite go-to beef rubs that I use on brisket all the time. As far as trimming goes, I'm not really doing anything beyond what the butcher's already done for us. Nice big hunk of meat. We'll make sure we get coverage with the rub, and then let's just let that sit there while that rub attaches. So like I said, today we're smoking on the Kamado Joe Classic III. I've got a charcoal bed going already. We've got the slow roller in place, and I've stabilized that temperature at about 275 to 300. That's that window that we're gonna try and stay in today. So before we throw the meat on, I'm just gonna throw in a chunk of hickory wood to add some extra smoke. But we'll just nestle that chunk of hickory right down there in the charcoal. Now, if we decide to add some more wood here in a little bit, we can always tip that up and we have a nice access point. All right, that hickory smoke is rolling now. We're gonna get our piece of meat on here. So for now, we're just cooking for color. We're looking to build a bark on the outside of that chuck roast, and once we have a really nice bark and a nice color on the outside, we're gonna wrap it up so we can expedite that process of cooking and add a little bit more flavor to the wrap. Well guys, our chuck roast has been smoking for 3 hours now. Temp's just been holding steady right under 300, which is awesome. And this thing looks really good. Come check it out. I mean, great looking bark and color, especially around the edges. I think we're ready to wrap it up. So I'm gonna place this on a couple sheets of foil here. We've got 2 down just in case we get a little puncture. And we're gonna add some braising liquid to the wrap. I'm gonna go with a 1/4 cup of beef stock. That just keeps it nice and juicy in there. And then we're gonna do a 1/4 cup of Big Rick's original barbecue sauce to sweeten things up a little bit since we're headed toward burnt ends anyway. And then we're just gonna get in here and wrap it up nice and tight. And take it back to the grill. Check the coal bed and it's looking good, so we're just gonna close it back up and let it keep rolling at 300. So it's been another hour now that the chuck roast has been wrapped up on the grill. It's temping at about 205 and starting to feel pretty tender, so come check this out. We're gonna give it a probe. Well, let's open this up. Ah, it smells awesome. Oh yeah, so not a lot of resistance. That means a lot of that fat that's been breaking down is getting really tender. So let's get this off of here and cube it up. So essentially now we're just gonna break this down into what we would think of as our burnt end cubes. This one's a pretty meaty roast, pretty thick. We could probably go half on those. Yeah, these are gonna go back on the grill to finish up with the sauce. You can see that there's still some fat running through there, but it's starting to break down where it's got that nice squish to it now. And I'm just gonna throw them right back in the foil with that liquid that's in there. One thing about chuck roast is you do have these areas where it's just pretty much all fat. And we'll hit one of those here in a minute. Yeah, that one right there, there's barely any meat on it, but we'll throw it in there with the rest of it and eat around it. So we're gonna add a little bit more of our Big Rick's barbecue sauce, and then we'll mix it with that liquid that's already in there to kind of coat everything. Yeah, that's looking good. And then we want to give these some more time on the grill, just to kind of finish that cooking process, but also to get a nice texture on the outside of each one of these cubes. Leave some surface area so we can get some exposure to the heat. All right, guys, it's been another 20 minutes or so. These are looking pretty dang good. I mean, those are kind of looking like burnt ends. Let's see, we'll give it a little squish test. Oh yeah, squishy all right. That meat's starting to shred apart. I'd say we're good. And just toss them around in that sauce to get them coated nice. Pile them up. All right, let's give it a try. That's not bad. That tastes like, it tastes like barbecue, right? The texture is different than a brisket. I wouldn't say it's not really a burn-in, but it really is pretty good. Totally worth doing, especially if you're looking to save a few bucks. Now, on that note, make sure you're checking prices, because honestly, sometimes I find brisket cheaper than I find chuck. And I know maybe you don't want to buy 15 pounds of meat at a time, you'd rather buy 4 or 5. So from that standpoint, it could make sense to do this from time to time. The texture is a bit different. Like, I definitely feel like it's the chuck roast texture. It doesn't have the same intramuscular fat that a brisket point does, which is really what makes that piece of meat so magical. So, my opinion is not bad. Maybe not a burn end. But as far as barbecue goes, that's some pretty tasty beef. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to check out allthingsbbq.com for all of the products featured in today's video. If you enjoyed the recipe, hit that subscribe button. And if you have any questions or comments, or there's anything you'd like to see me cook, let me know in the comment section down below, and let's be good to one another. For more recipes, tips, and techniques, head over to allthingsbbq.com/thesauce. All Things Barbecue, where barbecue legends are made.